Hi there, Adam Gower here, and in today's special Life in the Day of COVID-19 episode here at the real estate crowdfunding show, Syndication in the Digital Age at gowercrowd.com, I am going to be talking with Gavin Hammar, who is founder and CEO at Sendible, the online social media automation platform that we use here at Gower Crowd for all our posting. Now, of all people active on social media, Gavin is probably one of the most tuned in to exactly what's happening with social media, because his platform there at Sendible has, I don't know, gazillions of subscribers, all of whom are interacting with social media through the platform. So Gavin has a particularly deep insight into how social media activity and practices have changed since COVID-19 hit the airwaves. That is exactly what you're going to be hearing about today, as well as best practices for how to adjust your own social media activities during this crisis. Now, in addition to what you're going to hear today from Gavin, at gowercrowd.com, we have a substantial set of resources for you to navigate the current crisis. Just go to gowercrowd.com and to the COVID-19 resources menu at the top to access all of these resources in one place. And if, of course, you are listening to this podcast after the crisis has ended, then one, congratulations, and two, check out all the other great resources that I've been putting together for you. Be sure to sign up for something so you can get access to my educational newsletter that I try to get out weekly. All right, now find out what are social media posting best practices from Gavin Hammar, founder and CEO at Sendible.com. Gavin, good to see you again. Thank you so much for joining me again on the podcast. But this time it's very, very different. This is a special Life in the Day of Coronavirus episode. And what I am fascinated to hear from you, being at the very, very sharp end or sharp edge of so many people's activities on social media, is how have social media habits changed since this whole crisis began?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me back again, Adam. Great to be here again. I guess what we've seen at Sendible is that people started by freezing. They started just by freezing and not knowing what to do and almost panicking. They weren't sure what to say. Can they still sell their products? Can they still be out there on social media? So they just stopped doing social media altogether. They just froze, did nothing, because they weren't sure what to do. But what we've discovered, what we've been trying to educate our customers is about kind of trying to take advantage of everyone being on social media right now. So, everyone is on social now. They're all locked in their houses. There's a lockdown going on. And they really have an opportunity here to be present, to build their brands during a time of need. And just being there to answer people's problems, to help provide support on social media. So I think in terms of the social media habits, how they've changed from a business perspective, I think people have started to cut their time, their budgets on social media. But the ones that are really benefiting now are the ones that are actually staying on social media. So while everyone is consuming COVID-19 related content because they're in fear, they need help, the brands that are present right now are the ones that are actually benefiting. So I think that the biggest opportunity here is about being able to rewrite the book, because there is no book. No one knows how to deal with this thing. If you can be the one that can be there to share your learnings, document what you're going through as a company, you can help others and help to pioneer the way forward through this pandemic. So I think that's where we're trying to help educate people, really take advantage of the needs that they have to help them and be present by sharing your own perspective, because there is no book about this.
Fascinating. Gosh, I'm so glad that I asked you on, because this is my absolute favorite subject right now. So actually, let's just back up a little bit and dissect for me what it is that people are concerned about. Why are they freezing, right? They don't know what to say, but they've decided not to say anything. So that in itself is is a decision. They've stopped saying what they were saying, and they've decided not to say anything. So what was it about what they were saying that they've decided isn't appropriate to say now? Let's unwrap this, Gavin, seriously.
Because most people would be sharing what they do, kind of what their product does, what they're basically talking about what their product does, trying to sell to you essentially on social media. And it just didn't seem like the time was right to kind of keep pushing those salesy messages out. So people tended to pause their Sendible accounts, for example, just to stop anything from going out altogether. And almost like freeze, stop, pause, and just think of what they should do next is what it was about. Like, what type of messaging will work on social media right now? Maybe because they were ashamed to be selling during a crisis. Potentially they just weren't sure what would annoy their customers, potentially. What could they say that might turn them away from them? And just not knowing what to say, really. That's like people going through a crisis, people getting sick, people dying. There's so much uncertainty in the world. How can you even be relevant when everyone's worrying about the most important thing, which is their health? How can your business be relevant? So that's where they started panicking and not knowing what to say and what could actually be detrimental for their brand. If they said something that would be detrimental, that's much worse than not saying anything at all,
Got it. Interesting. All right, fine. So some of your clients on Sendible or subscribers on Sendible are creating content and they're being successful with their content development. Tell me, what are the best of class people doing? How have they adapted their messaging and their communications to these circumstances?
So yeah, I think the first thing is that context is king when it comes to marketing, when social media, whatever it is. I think the biggest lesson here is you have to always embrace context. So whatever your customers or your audience are currently going through, what they're thinking about, you should be relevant to those thoughts. So now more than ever, you need to be kind of sharing what's relevant to them. So no one cares about your product, your service, as I said before. They care about how you can help them, what you can do for them to make them better. So I think the ones that are doing really well, the ones that are kind of using messaging to help in the relevant context of the current situation. And as I said, because it's so new, they're kind of documenting their learnings. So they aren't trying to take a book and show you what you could do. They're saying, here's what I've done. Here's what's working for me right now. Try this out, see if it works for you. So it's more about documenting your journey going through this pandemic, this crisis, and sharing your wins as you go along with it than sharing someone else's wins. And I think that the key to remember here is that we're all living this hero's journey, right? We're all going through a crisis, obstacles on the way. And it's a great opportunity to build a following of people that are rooting for you. So if you can show that you're vulnerable, whatever it is you've had to go through, maybe laying off staff, whatever it is, or you've dealt with that, if you can be open and honest and transparent, you can build an audience when this thing is all over to then sell to. So what our top sort of customers are doing is they're kind of giving away things for free, giving away learnings, running workshops and courses, for the audience. It's all free. They're just trying to give away as much value as they can in the hopes that later on, that audience can convert to customers. So let's say in 3 months' time, you've got their trust, you have their attention. So whatever you can do right now to build the audience by being honest and open and sharing your learnings will set you ahead of the rest when this is all over. So I have more on that stuff if I can go deeper, but
yeah. So let's definitely do that.
Yeah,
I would love to talk more about that. When you say go deeper, what do you mean exactly go deeper? Because I've got a thought.
I can go into more tactics. I can go more tactical than that, but I'm just trying to keep it high level.
Yeah. So let's go more tactical in a minute, but let's just discuss that because that's actually very interesting. Before we do that, what are if you could categorize the types of companies that are on Sendible, what kind of industry do they typically fall in, apart from the agencies? Because I know you've got a lot of agencies, but for those that are sole operators or even agencies that are representing companies, kind of tell me what industries are they in?
Well, it's a broad range. Education, nonprofits, franchise is big. Local coffee shops, even restaurants. So We have a broad range of customers. I mean, it covers every type of business, really.
And when you say franchises, what kind of
mm.
franchises?
So one of our biggest customers would be cruise planners. Have you heard of cruise planners?
You know, I'm so sorry. I'm so far away from England these days. No.
It's a US company.
I knew that.
So, so they basically arrange cruises for you. So cruise holidays. So it's like a franchise sort of model where you have your travel agents that are kind of selling the cruises, and cruise planners is this overarching company that kind of, I think it provides content to all of those different franchisees to promote the cruises. So that's one example of a franchise business. We also have restaurants that are part of a franchise.
Okay, so I have to jump in, right? So because I want to tell you something. My little sister has a salon in Manchester, a beauty salon, and that's like hands-on, right? There's nothing you can, it's like nothing you can do. And so her business has been shut down, and I had this very interesting discussion with her, and actually it's gone a little bit further. I'm not sure how far it will go, but apparently in order to get aid from the government, I forget what it's called in England, you have to agree you have to prove that you're not working. And that also means you're not allowed to use social media, right? So she got a thing from her, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but she got a thing from her accountant saying, if you want to get this aid, I'll forward it to you. You're not allowed to. And I was thinking that is the most, and maybe they're wrong, right? Maybe she's pointing at the wrong thing, but that is the most nonsensical thing. The idea being presumably that even if you're not earning money, if you are communicating with your customers, then you are attempting to gain a competitive edge in some way. It's such a crazy idea, right? Because communication is relationship development. So when you talk, one of the first things that you said was that people are worried about selling their stuff during a crisis. Like there's something distasteful about that.
Yeah.
And when I suggested to my sister that what she did, and we can talk about some of these tactics, I'm very interested to hear what you're seeing. When she said that, when I suggested that she do just that, because it would benefit her later, I got into trouble with my aunt who told me, I get a call from London, you shouldn't tell her that, it's naughty, she shouldn't be profiting, right, from the environment. And I said, no, that's not the case. You're establishing a relationship. It's perfectly fine. It actually is what oils the wheels of the economy when the economy has shut down. It's the single most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what are you seeing in terms of tactics that people are employing to engage their customers, even when their customers are not standing on their doorstep with their wallets open? That's an important time, isn't it? Probably the most important time.
I think, I think the key is to build an audience, as I said. So whatever you can do that's related to what you're doing as a business, but do it more as a service or as a way to help people deal with the current situation. So one example, let me just think of something. So I'll take one example. There's a friend of mine, he's a father at my daughter's school, who basically frames kind of portraits, photos for a living. There's like photo framing in a market. And obviously that market's been shut down and he has no way to earn a living right now. So what I suggested is that he kind of find a way to help children create artwork that could then be framed later on, or teach photography classes, or do something that's remote, something on Zoom, whatever it is, or Facebook Live, to build the audience now to teach something that's related to what he does as a business. That could eventually then become something he can use to frame his photos, whatever it is. So teaching art classes, teaching photography, to tap into what the world needs right now, in the hope that when this is over, you can then have that audience ready to buy from you. So it's not related to his business, kind of like what you're saying about your sister, but it's something that's, that can kind of complement it afterwards, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you know, it's fascinating you say that. So I had a couple of ideas as well. Let's throw these around because I think it's actually brilliant to do that, to suggest that to him. For example, what I suggested to Lucy was she could go into her bathroom, grab a product, right?
Yeah.
And but just create a video. How can you use products that you've got in your thing to keep your hands moist? Best practice, because you're washing your hands 25 times a day. Do a little video.
Exactly.
That's what else can you do? Think about it. Look, if you change the dynamic of how you relate to your customers come to you. You think of them as giving you money, but actually what you're doing is you are giving them, when they pay you to do something, you are giving them something that they need. They're coming to you at a time of need. They need a frame. They need some facial. They need food because they want to eat in a restaurant, right? So you are serving them at a time of need. Now is even more of a time of need. And when I say they're not showing up with their wallets, don't just be there for them when they have money. Be there for them now when they most need you. So what I said to Lucy, I told her, do this for Dan's. What I was thinking about restaurants, show somebody how to cook your favorite, right? What's the most favorite dish in the restaurant? Here, let me show you how you cook it. We'll put a video together. That's how you create a relationship.
Exactly. Totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that's critical. So not expecting anything in return really is the key. Just giving value, helping others in need, helping your customers in need, but don't expect to make a return on this. You know, that's what it is. But it's a longer term play, right? In the short term, you won't profit from this, but in a few months' time, when it's over, you will.
Yeah, but yes. So that's a good incentive, right?
Yeah.
But there are other incentives today, Gavin. Seriously, one is this huge army of freelancers that work for me, and some of them, unfortunately, I get emails. Sorry, I was so depressed. Well, stop bloody reading the news.
Exactly.
Right? Just do my stuff and stop reading the news and you'll be all right. So there's a few reasons why you should be engaged with your audience. One is, yeah, sure, you can think about the profit that's going to come to you later, right? Fair enough. All right. But it's not entirely altruistic. Another reason is it gives you something productive to do, right? It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And to figure out how to do video. Maybe you've never done video before. Right. Yeah. But you pick up your phone, stick it down and figure it out. It's not that difficult, right?
Just what you were saying now about the news. I mean, I guess for the first couple of weeks, I was really not very productive. I had the same issue where I had push notifications every 10 minutes about figures in US or whatever, China, whatever it was. I just couldn't focus at all. I was so distracted, so worried about what was going on around me that I couldn't control. So eventually I uninstalled all my news apps. I filtered social media so I don't get any COVID-19 news. And I just check once a day. So I'll check the news once a day, check the updates and see what's relevant to my world right now, what I can do to help. But I think if you get stuck into that vortex of COVID-19, doom and gloom, you really can't move forward. So I would say, I agree. The first thing is just remove your apps, just remove that noise from your life and just focus on how you can help really,
Exactly. Live in ignorant bliss. It's the perfect time for that. So I want to tell you something. I have I'm one of your ideal subscriber profiles, because my reaction to this whole thing was exactly what you've described. And that was, you know what, my current communications on autopilot as they are, thanks to Sendible. I'm one of your greatest evangelists. I'll tell you that, everybody I talk to, just to be clear. So my first thought was this 6 posts a day that I'm putting out on autopilot, the original content, stop, right? We stopped every single queue. And I actually went into a manic overdrive to create new content, including, for example, this podcast as part of that sequence that helps people to understand what is the best thing, how to do what it is to explain what I'm doing, but in a way that is entirely relevant to the circumstance, the exact same thing that we're talking, learn how to do video, learn how to do audio, right? Learn how to post online, all these things that dovetail, but to frame it in the environment that we're in now.
That's brilliant, actually. Yeah. So go ahead.
Go on. But how are you actually measuring? At one point you said, let's see, you talked about doing well. So those subscribers who are doing well, how are you measuring that? Let's get into kind of a bit of DNA there.
I can tell you what I'm doing first of all, because I don't have insight into what everyone else is doing. But what we're doing at Sendible that we're measuring. So for me, kind of like what you were saying about kind of like with the podcast and sharing and teaching, what I'm doing is I'm documenting every week what I've done as a result of COVID-19 as a business owner, to help other business owners kind of maybe approach things the same way as me or adopt some of those tactics. So the way I measure that is kind of how engaged are they in that content. You know, if we're doing video, which we're doing on Sendible now, how many subscribers are we getting? You know, are they sticking around to the end of their podcast, their video, whatever it is? Just really seeing how engaged they are. The second thing we're doing is we're building our own community, not around Sendible, but around our customers, which I was going to share as a tactic, right? So every company is building communities right now. We're doing it very differently. And our measure of success is how engaged that community is. So are we fueling conversations in that community? Are we helping other customers engage with each other? You know, are we providing value in a way that gets people to come back and engage and actually enjoy our content? So it's more around like, not even audience size, but really engagements, sort of metrics. So view times, that kind of thing. Do they watch more than one video? Are they listening to more than one podcast? That kind of thing. Do they come back and get more value from it? So I think that's what it really is. It's less about driving direct sales, direct signups, more about the brand awareness metrics that you'd normally be measuring.
Yeah, I actually find it an incredible look. I'm a very glass half full kind of person, or even glass completely full, because half of it's got water and the other half's got air in it, right? You look at it that way. You need both of those to survive. So to me, this is an extraordinary opportunity to kind of unwrap who you are and who you are as a business, and to expose I think this is what you're doing, is to expose that kind of inner workings and to share that in a way that provides value to others, that they can learn from it.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think because everyone's panicking, as I said, they're all doing it, like everyone's doing the same thing, right? So the key here is to be different, like not to do what everyone else is doing right now. Try to pioneer something new. So what I was saying about the community, we knew we were going to build a community. We already planned that in Q1, but our community wasn't going to be like everyone else's. So every other company, as I said, is building this community around their brand. So join the Salesforce community, join the HubSpot community. Our community is run by our customers. So yes, we sponsor the community, but it's run by our actual customers who are facing the problems that other customers have. So we have we have leads in our community that actually lead conversations. And we're just there to support them and provide any sponsorships that they need to help drive those conversations. But it's a way of thinking differently. Like everyone's panicking, starting communities. Ours is run by our customers. It's very different. So I would say, just because everyone else is doing it one way, try to think of a different way of doing it. You know, everyone's on Facebook Live now and Zoom. Everyone's doing the exact same thing. Can you be a bit different? You know, can you personalize your approach more? Can you do one-on-one Zoom sessions? You know, I think you need to try to think outside the box. Now's your chance to really differentiate from the rest of the world. So that's what I would suggest, is really just try to be different. Even though everyone's trying to fit into the same new way of living and working, try to find ways to differentiate your brand so you can stand out when everyone's doing the same thing, and challenge the status quo, really. So one thing I'm doing is I'm trying to personalize every email that I send. So rather than doing like mass marketing emails, I will go out of my way to write. I'll research that particular person if I'm writing to a customer, and I'll write a very personal email just to them, and do things that don't scale, things that are memorable right now. So when this is over, they'll come back to us and know that they can trust us.
Wow, that's a really interesting idea. Because we've got so much time, right? So actually spend the time now to do something that you can't scale. That's fascinating, actually.
Just try personalize. Personalization is key
Yeah.
right now. Just try to be as human and authentic as possible.
Oh, that's really interesting. So let me ask you about different channels and how the different social channels are, I don't know, not reacting different, but what are the characteristics of how people interact with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter and YouTube, which are the ones that I use specifically, that you've seen patterns different? Are there different characteristics in the way people react to those channels?
So I think, first of all, like what you were saying about video, I think video is key right now. So being able to show your face on social media is really crucial. Even internally, I'm sending videos for internal communication. And our sales team are sending videos to customers, and leads. So we're using video wherever we can. So I think YouTube has been doing really well right now. So I've heard from content creators, I don't know if this is relevant to you, but you're seeing an increase in traffic and views
Oh
of
yeah,
your videos right now.
Like Gavin, since I switched up, just as a case study, since I switched up my communication, stopped by everything and replaced it with an entire library of new relevant content, Gavin, my inbox, the traffic to my website has exploded. I've never been busier in my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah, out of control, really.
So yes, I think video is key. YouTube is exploding right now. People are pushing out more video content. Facebook Live, it exploded in the first few weeks of this pandemic. I don't know if it's been like this in the US, but everyone's on Facebook Live. We have our kids at home. They have like every hour there's something going on for the kids on Facebook Live. So that's exploded. But I think it's getting quite saturated. So we've seen an increase in obviously customers on Sendible as a result of this. People are trying to promote their Facebook Live events and that kind of thing. But it's just being overdone right now. So you have to try to differentiate from Facebook Live, which is why I think YouTube is a good place to be right now to create higher quality content that people can learn from and come back to. Obviously, Zoom has exploded. So that's the more kind of one-on-one or personalized sort of content experience. Facebook groups is massive right now. So everyone's trying to join communities. They're looking for a place to belong where they can get advice and feedback and kind of just vent and share their kind of ups and downs. So Facebook groups, again, it's closest to personalization where it's a more personal experience. That's become a big deal right now. So get into Facebook groups if you can. There's always questions like, how can I do this? How can I do that? And you can be there to help them. So Facebook groups, I would say, is your number one priority right now. Try to join as many as you can. And then the interesting thing is Instagram isn't being used as much right now. So there's been a kind of slight reduction in usage on Instagram. People not looking for entertainment as much as they used to.
Well, probably because
Instagram is quite superficial. Sorry, go ahead.
They're also probably not out and about taking pictures. There's only as many pictures of the house cat that you can put up on Instagram.
Unless like food porn going on, people aren't going out to restaurants. So I think Instagram is kind of just, slowed down a little bit in its growth. Doesn't mean you shouldn't still be there, but you can still use video content to direct them to other channels, so share your podcasts and video content, that kind of thing. But people are looking for answers to problems more than just entertainment and kind of passing the time, I think. I mean, me personally, I'm watching less Netflix than I did before. Because I'm more inspired to create, as you said, about creating and helping others. I want to be out there creating content and providing value rather than just consuming all the stuff. So I think there's an opportunity there to create content. Yeah, go ahead.
What about LinkedIn and Twitter?
LinkedIn has been pretty good for me personally because I'm sharing my journey as a CEO. So again, I've always used LinkedIn as a way to share my mistakes and how I've overcome them. So that kind of content will always work well on LinkedIn. So, you might want to say I was down and out last week, I was depressed, but I came right this week because I did these things. So people are always looking for lessons on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is good. Obviously video content is kind of used quite heavily on LinkedIn these days. Still performs well, but yeah, LinkedIn has been a good place. Twitter, I've never really mastered Twitter myself. I think there's opportunities to kind of come in there and give value in various conversations. What's your thoughts on Twitter at the moment?
Yeah, so the two channels that I notice, well, in order of results, looking at Google Analytics and seeing where we're getting traffic from, LinkedIn is a very powerful driver for my industry, which is real estate capital formation, raising money for real estate projects, even today. So a lot of the traffic is coming from LinkedIn, followed by Facebook, and Twitter is a kind of a distant third. But I think it's important because the people that are on Twitter, who are active on Twitter, generally are quite serious. They're busy, right? With LinkedIn, yes, with LinkedIn, there's much more to consume, right? The content there's more content per post. With Twitter, you can fly through it very quickly. And because of what I like actually is the lists. So I have various lists, and that gives me a hyper-filtered view of specific areas of the world and activities in the world that I like. And so I actually think my guess is that the people who come through to us on Twitter are high value connections, even though they represent a substantially smaller percentage of the traffic.
Yeah. I think Twitter is just about building relationships. So if you can build relationships with the same people that keep liking your tweets, retweeting, that kind of thing, that's what the value is. Look, so again, it's about giving value and building this valuable audience.
Well, Gavin, I have this because of you, actually, and Sendible, and the way that I actually interact with social media. I don't really spend a lot of time personally on social media. My thesis is that if somebody hears my name, and this is what I advise all of my clients, in fact, these are the systems that we build actually for clients. As soon as if you go to a conference and you give a speech, not that you're doing that now, but if somebody hears your name, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to Google and research you. So they're going to find you on LinkedIn straight away there. Or if they are a Twitter fan or a Facebook fan, or they like YouTube, they might run searches on those channels. And because Sendible makes it so easy to just get the same piece of content out to all of those channels, my attitude is, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? If somebody wants to consume your content on Twitter, give it to them there. But make sure, right, you've got to have a link back to your site. Right? It's got to be that CTA. So, yeah, my attitude is it doesn't really matter. You don't want to be on everything, but target a few, and then use an automation platform like Sendible to get it out to every channel. You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think just with LinkedIn, kind of what you were saying about links. So what we've seen is that obviously not having the link in the actual post itself is really beneficial. So obviously every now and then you post a post with the CTA, but most of your content should be video content or text only or photos without driving them away from the platform, because the algorithms will penalize you for taking traffic away from them. So obviously using that approach is definitely key and very powerful, but don't only drive people away from those platforms. You need just to play nicely with the platforms and keep them in there, but try and mix it up as much as you can.
That's really good advice. There is no way to auto post a comment, unfortunately. So if you've got,
so we have that for Instagram right now. We're looking to extend that for LinkedIn and Facebook as well.
I would have,
because that's where things are going next. It's kind of these posts are being penalized for having links in them.
Yeah, I have only one word to say about that. Please do.
Okay, coming soon.
All right, so let's move to wrapping up with let's look at the bright horizon and what are the opportunities. It seems to me that although this may have driven a lot of people offline erroneously, right, just out of sheer panic, right, the best thing to do, as we've been discussing, is actually up your game, tailor your communications, but double down on content, right? Get more out, make sure it's relevant. Where do you think your business the business of social media is, or how do you think it's going to emerge after people have been hibernating for a few weeks, possibly months, and eventually come out of hibernation? Do you think the world's going to look different on social media?
That's a good question. It's a tough one. I think that social media is being used today more than ever was before. I think this pandemic has used social media to its strength. It's kind of highlighted the strength of social media in a way that has brought people together. And people are sharing their stories on social media. I mean, a lot of people are sharing the ups and downs, being transparent, being human again, which is where social media's the kind of roots came from. So I think that people will realize that that's where social media is most valuable, in bringing communities together, bringing an audience together around a common goal or a common trend or thread. So in my mind, I think social media will be bigger for this, come out of this stronger. And as you said, more companies are having to go online now. So will we ever be able to go back to how life was before? Probably not. I think people will embrace remote working more than ever. People are going to work from home more after this. We might see fewer restaurants on the high streets, more takeaways. People having to drive traffic to the websites to kind of get the attention and build the awareness. And I think social media is the best distribution channel for that. So I think the value of social media will really be realized as part of this pandemic. But I think, as I said before, you need to be different. And that's where the key really is don't just push people to your website. As I said to you now, you have to try build an audience that trusts you. And then when you throw one out there that has a link, they'll go visit it because they do trust you already. So storytelling, as I've always said, is still super key. Sharing your learnings right now is the best thing you can do. So whatever you're going through right now, whatever you're struggling with, as I said, the hero's journey is the key right now. So look for, kind of try to find challenges in everyday life. Everything is new for everyone. And try to share how you've overcome those challenges. And then build the audience that way. So I think storytelling, as I've always said, always push you above the rest. The more authentic you can be, the better. Using video, just like you said, on YouTube is key, and teaching and sharing. So yeah, just try not to be perfect, be human. But I said to the team that if your kids are in the room running around and you're writing an email, just write PS. You know, I've got the kids running around wild behind me while I'm writing this email to you. And just try to build that trust and be authentic. Because now's the best time that you can do that. You aren't in an office, you're at home, you know, just share that you are at home. And just be real, be yourself. Don't try to hide behind what's really going on here. So I'd say that's probably my few tips on social media and where it's going and how you can really leverage this opportunity.
Fantastic. You actually preempted my last question, which was, what advice do you have?
So yeah, I'd say just be real. Just embrace the opportunity that you have. Everyone is in the same situation right now. We're all at home. We're all kind of stuck, all struggling with what's going to happen next, with uncertainty. If you can share your struggles with the world and be open and honest about it, you can build an audience and come out stronger at the end.
Lovely. Gavin, thanks so much for spending time with me today in this wacky time that we live in. I know you were going to be here in California, so unfortunately not. But hopefully you will make it, and it would be a real pleasure to meet you in person if you do come here. Thanks so much for being on my show today.
Well, thanks for having me, Adam, and keep well and keep safe and keep on sharing content.
That was Gavin Hammar, founder and CEO at Sendible.com. Be sure to go to the podcast page for this episode at gowercrowd.com to access all the resources that I put together for you there. There's a lot there, from free training, syndication best practice, articles and thought leadership, discounts off our flagship investor acquisition system master course, and be sure to check out all the other podcasts and the articles that we have for more information there too. All right, thanks so much for listening, and thank you, Gavin Hammar, founder and CEO at Sendible, for your time with me today. That's all for this episode. I'll see you next time, and in the meantime, stay well. And for now, this is Dr. Adam Gower signing off.